You see, Sonic games aren't perfect. No game is, really. And for many Sonic games, I'm sure there are things that we all wish could have been improved. There are a handful of games released throughout the series that fell short in many aspects, and in some cases, the games have become completely unplayable. This has led many people to urge SEGA to re-release certain games with improvements, but that's not always possible. Sonic Team is constantly working on new projects, and when re-releases do happen, there's always something new added on, and they usually only focus on remastering games that critics universally praised. But what about those other games that didn't reach their full potential, or maybe even newer games that also fell short in several aspects? Well, that's where fan projects come in. Sonic fan games are such a cool thing, and it's even cooler that SEGA allows fans who are passionate for the series to make their own Sonic games and even make modifications for official Sonic games, a group of which aim to bring back old games and make them even better. Like Sonic and the Secret Rings, it's a fucking terrible game. Isn't that right, Benji?
Man, fuck you, you bitch!
Okay, maybe that was a little too exaggerated. The game is not terrible. In fact, it has a lot of redeeming aspects. The aesthetic, the scenery, the music, the story, all of that is great, and it's some of the best in the entire series if you ask me. But when we get to things like the gameplay, it kind of falls apart. Yeah, motion controls, gross. The Wii was known for having so many games that force you to use the motion controls, but this game decided to take it a step further and make tilt controls the only control method, making the whole game uncomfortable as hell to play. But what if Secret Rings got completely remade for modern hardware, and motion controls were no longer necessary? Well, thankfully, we have Project Reignition, a full remake of Sonic and the Secret Rings for PC. And before playing this, I wasn't aware of just how much has already been done with this project. All of the levels and missions, from what I can tell, are here, except for Lost Prologue and Night Palace. But even without those levels, there is still a shitload of content here. And with the new control scheme, it's a blast. Motion controls are out the window, and we can now play with a traditional controller. Thank God. But apart from that, there are several new improvements to the gameplay. The skill system has been significantly altered, making it so that skills that once just improved the controls are now equipped by default. Skills that were also just weaker versions of other skills have also been removed, making the skill system a lot easier to understand and a lot more enjoyable. I always hated that about Secret Rings, like why on earth did I need to unlock the ability to have better control? It was the weirdest thing to me, so I'm glad that's changed here. Progression has also been improved, making story critical missions more apparent. And there's even some new music in here, including a replacement for 7 Rings in Hand on the title screen, which, yeah, that did get pretty annoying, so good call. And with this being a PC remake, there are several customization options involving graphics. You can get this game running at a higher resolution in 120 FPS, and my god, it is a dream to play. You were already able to get 60 FPS on Dolphin with a code, but man, 120 FPS with the improved gameplay is just so much fun. And the crazy part about all of this is that the game is still extremely faithful to the original. There are no major changes that were made outside of the requirement for motion controls being removed, which is actually kind of bittersweet in a way. Like, yeah, it's super awesome that we have this new version of Secret Rings to experience, but it's also kind of sad knowing that the original game was so close to being somewhat decent at the very least. But they just had to include a control scheme that was never going to work. Regardless, Project Reignition is awesome, and I can't wait to play it when it's all complete. Now on to mods. There's actually a couple I want to talk about in this video. The first one being Sonic Frontiers Revisited. Oh my god. Sonic Frontiers is my favorite Sonic game, and if you've been around for a while, you probably know that I am obsessed with the cut content and beta builds of Sonic Frontiers, and how different they were compared to what we actually got. There were a lot of things in Frontiers that ended up feeling somewhat incomplete, making the whole package feel more like a good demo for what Sonic could do in the future. But Frontiers Revisited aims to completely reimagine the game, with new level design, gameplay, cyberspace levels, character designs, and even voice acting. Everything is getting a facelift here. So far, we only have the Kronos Island portion, but they're planning on doing the whole game, including a story expansion in a similar vein to Final Horizon called The Final Frontier. So what's here right now is just a small fraction of what's to come, but it's already a lot of content. Right away, I immediately noticed that the new set pieces featured on Kronos take heavy inspiration from the Frontiers concept art, incorporating a lot more ruins and even making the platforming challenges mesh better with the environment. environment. It brings new life to the game and makes the island as a whole feel more complete. This new Kronos Island also takes advantage of Rhea Island's land, doubling the size of the original island. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention that they even added the Ancients world ship, yo. And that's honestly just scratching the surface of what the island has to offer. Cyberspace is also completely different and includes new level designs, making the levels way longer, and these are actually fantastic. I think a lot of fan projects have an issue with making the linear stages have wide open level design without anything to fill the space. But these cyberspace levels don't have that. Really, the only issue I have with the game is the new control scheme. Now, there are some things I like, such as the addition of the bounce and the shields, but then there's Sonic's movement. At least in cyberspace, it's great, the controls are way smoother and faster, but in the open zone, they made Sonic's control more tankier, which I just don't know why they did that. Frontiers was already great in terms of control, and it was perfect for platforming, but these new controls, while they do give you a greater sense of speed by allowing you to run without boosting, they significantly hinder platforming, and your turns are way wider. So for a future update, I hope there's an option to go back to the original control scheme or something. But yeah, so far, Frontiers Revisited is awesome, and again, as a Frontiers beta junkie myself, this is fucking crazy. I can't wait to play the next update. Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces, another shitty Sonic game. Okay, I actually don't think Sonic Forces is a terrible game like many people say it is, but it is painfully mediocre, and that mostly stems from the level design issues. This level design could have been designed by me with how basic it is. It is way too linear and uninteresting, and the levels last for only a minute most of the time. You could very easily breeze through all this game has to offer in well under 2 hours. So thankfully, we have Sonic Forces Overclocked, a mod that aims to improve upon many aspects of Forces through this sort of fan-made DLC expansion that takes place following the events of the original game. Complete with brand new level designs, refined controls, new set pieces, and even a story, this is a very impressive mod. The new level design has many more branching paths and interesting platforming. The levels also last way longer, which is pretty great. There are only 8 levels in the main campaign instead of 30, but every level here stands out and has something unique to offer, whether that would be the setting, the set pieces, or the gimmicks. There is nothing here that feels lazy or underbaked. I also really appreciate the more cinematic moments, I guess you could say. Forces had some of this with the mid-level cutscenes and whatnot, but I think Overclocked does a much better job at actually incorporating it into the level design. The set pieces also make the locations and Forces fit with the context of the plot. In the original game, the whole idea of the plot was that the world was supposed to be in ruin as a result of Eggman's actions, but apparently that just means that Green Hill has sand now, I guess. But in Overclocked, we have Green Hill actually being destroyed, which makes a lot more sense. The boss fight against Infinite at the end of the game is also fantastic, and the background music is also really damn good. Like previously mentioned, this game also makes a lot of additions to the story. We have these illustrated cutscenes with full voice acting and all. Again, it's so impressive what they were able to do with this project and how they were able to build off of Forces. I love this mod, and I think it's actually worth buying Forces on PC just to play it. It's that good. But before I go, I wanted to kind of go through a few other projects I thought were relevant in a sort of lightning round. Similar to Unleashed Recompiled, Marathon Recompiled is a recompilation of Sonic 06 for PC. It is not finished yet, but you can still play it if you know what you're doing. But regardless if you like 06 or not, you have to at least admit that this is a very cool thing for preservation and accessibility purposes. Sonic Runners Revival, as the name implies, is a fan-run version of the once defunct Sonic Runners mobile game that even adds new characters, stages, the whole 9 yards. I loved Sonic Runners when it was around, and I was devastated to see it go. So I am overjoyed knowing that there is an unofficial way to play it now, and the fact that it has new content is also pretty awesome, like they didn't have to do that. Then there's the Sonic Freeriders controller patch for Xenia, making the game playable without the need for the Xbox Kinect. And yep, this makes the game a million times more enjoyable. It just goes to show how this game was just one tiny option away from not being completely trash. But yeah, once again, it's really cool seeing how passionate fans of the Sonic series are able to make remasters and modifications to once flawed games when SEGA doesn't want to. I want to make it clear that my intention with this video was not to make a dig at SEGA. I completely understand that it wouldn't really be that productive for official projects like this to be released. Again, Sonic Team is always working on something new, and I would definitely prefer a new game being made rather than a re-release of an old game that only has a small cult following, you know? So I am very thankful for these fan projects. Links to all of the ones talked about in this video are in the description down below. Please go show your support to the developers and the teams behind all of these awesome games. But that's all for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.